My name is Cassandra Vale, 34 years old. The clock on my dashboard read 3:47 p.m., right before the world became a loud, spinning smear of white metal and shattered glass. I remember thinking I could still make it to the grocery store before daycare pickup, that I had time to choose strawberries because Zoe loved the ones with hearts in the center, and then a semi blew through the intersection and turned my Honda into a carousel of noise. I counted the rotations because my mind needed something to hold. 1, 2, 3, then nothing. I woke to the soft beep of machines and the stale lemon cleaner smell that never smells like actual lemons. The ceiling tiles had small gray constellations in them, and the monitor kept time like a quiet metronome. Voices threaded in from the hallway. Garrett's voice was low and careful, the way you talk when you want the nurse's station to think you're considerate. The insurance payout will be substantial, he said, especially with the head injury. She'll need long-term care. Another voice came slick as lip gloss. Patricia. Are you sure she doesn't remember anything? A pause. Doctor said it could be months before her memory comes back, if it ever does. The way he sat on the words, if it ever does, sent a cold drip through the center of me. It didn't sound worried. It sounded like the wish you make before blowing out a candle. I kept my eyes closed. The pain medication blurred the edges of everything, but not enough to sand down the meaning. Somewhere under the blanket, my hand flexed and found the pulse at my wrist. Strong. Present. Mine. I breathed slowly, like a swimmer beneath the surface. My mind was mostly intact with a fogged-out ring around the crash itself. And yet, in that drifting quiet, something clicked, like a lock sliding back. If he wanted a woman who couldn't remember, I would give him one. I would hand him the amnesia he wanted and let him show me who he was as. A nurse with lavender nails reminded me of my name and the day of the week. When the neurologist came, Garrett followed, with the anxious hero expression he wore for other people. He set a bouquet of lilies on the tray table. Their perfume hit like a bruise. We're going to ask you a few questions, the doctor said in a voice meant for frightened children. Do you remember where you live, your family? I looked at Garrett as if he were a stranger taking up too much space. He squeezed my hand a fraction too hard, like he wanted to move my answer through my skin. I'm sorry, I whispered. Who are you? Something unguarded swam across his face, 1 second of relief, before concern reassembled itself like a mask. Cassandra, he murmured, stroking my hair as if he owned it. I'm your husband. We've been married 8 years. The doctor nodded solemnly, already storyboarding my future with pamphlets. Garrett leaned in for the nurse's benefit. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. He angled his body so the monitor's green line framed his shoulder, a tender tableau for anyone who cared to look. Later, when the nurse left, Garrett's phone lit and vibrated against his thigh. He stepped into the bathroom to answer. I heard only a hiss of a whisper and a single word, papers. They moved me from ICU to a quieter floor with a window that offered a slice of parking lot and a stubborn maple tree. I watched the leaves arrange themselves against the glass as people arranged me. A social worker explained cognitive rest. A neurologist explained deficits. Garrett explained our life. You love hazelnut creamer, he said gently, as if the coffee were proof of something. And lilies. The lilies browned at the edges overnight. Their sweetness curdled into something heavy, as if they were rotting in time-lapse. Coral came the next morning with a canvas tote and eyes still raw from crying. She smelled like rain and peppermint gum. I brought photos, she said, laying them out like tarot cards. Halloween in a bee costume. Zoe's first day of preschool. A picture of me on the beach, my hair caught by wind I could almost feel. That's your favorite, Coral said, tapping the beach photo. You sent it to me with a caption about the tide teaching you patience. She waited for me to glow with recognition, and I tried, for her, to let my face soften without giving away the sharp little skein of plans forming in my chest. Garrett returned with his gentle husband tray of hospital jello and synthetic smiles. He hovered, a hand on my forearm for the audience, thumb unconsciously counting. 1, 2, 3, as if calibrating me. The neurologist thinks your memory will come back, he told Coral, a smooth sentence meant to reassure. a thread thrown across the room to tie me back to him. When Patricia arrived, she brought a magazine curled in her fist and a mouth that couldn't stop grinning. "You look good," she said, like a compliment she wanted back. She sat too close and patted my knee. "You should know, before the accident, you and Garrett were having problems. You've been talking about divorce." She said it like gossip that tasted sweet. I blinked. Slow. "I was?" She nodded, pleased. "Oh, yes. You called me crying last week. Said you found documents that worried you, but you were just confused, sweetie." We barely spoke before. We were orbiting moons with different gravities. I let the words fall like feathers that might be dust. "What kind of documents?" Patricia's eyes slid toward Garrett in a small, betraying tick. "Financial stuff. Stress makes everything murky." She patted my leg again, the way you pet a dog you don't like. At twilight, a volunteer turned on the TV. A malpractice expose flickered in muted captions. Doctors sued, hospital negligence, a settlement digit counter climbing in the corner like a gas pump, until Garrett found the remote and changed it to a cooking show, where butter softened in a sunlit kitchen. The lilies kept breathing their syrupy air. I learned the ward's schedule the way you learn a new language, by listening for repetitions. The neurologist rounded just after sunrise. The nurse with lavender nails counted pills at noon and 6. The evening nurse hummed Moon River while she charted. Garrett arrived for the showtimes. Morning hero, early afternoon handholder, night sentinel at the edge of sleep. When he thought I was sleeping, he made phone calls from the bathroom, water trickling like a cover song. He whispered about accounts, beneficiaries, forms. He said the word settlement, like someone testing a pocket for a wallet. Later, Coral sat with me, while the sky folded itself into navy. "Something feels off," she said softly, fiddling with the tote strap. "He's attentive, but it's sharp, like he's following a script. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that." I let my eyes trace the maple tree outside and let a ghost of a smile appear. "Say anything," I whispered. "Even if I don't remember, I want to know how it felt." Coral glanced at the lilies, then at me. "You hate those flowers." She half laughed, half winced. "You said they smell like funeral homes." It lodged behind my ribs like a small nail. When she left, I stayed awake and watched the TV's blue light swim across the ceiling. The monitor kept time. 3 beeps, a pause. 3 beeps, a pause. Somewhere, a supply cart rattled, and someone laughed too loud, and a phone rang twice and stopped. Garrett returned late and placed a hand on my forehead like a brand. "How's my girl?" My girl. As if the sound of ownership could soothe. He arranged the blanket with elaborate care, perfecting the tableau again. When he turned to the tray table, the lily vase knocked gently against the bed's control panel and the panel's drawer clicked. He bent, slid it open, retrieved nothing, then closed it, too careful for a useless motion. He helped me sip washer from a paper cup, his thumb again counting at my wrist. Count, calibrate, control. When he stepped into the bathroom, the door left a thin wedge of mirror in view. I saw him in it, not his face, but the angle of his shoulders, as he leaned toward his phone. "She'll sign," he said, voice soft and even. "But we need the originals ready. No delays." Water ran to cover the rest. He came back with a cloth to dab my lips, as if he were the kind of man who dabs lips. "You're safe," he said. "We're going to fix everything." He kissed my forehead and tucked the blanket again, because good husbands tuck. When he finally left for the night, I watched him tidy the tray table, align the remote with the call button, set the lilies at a precise right angle, and then, almost as an afterthought, slide his hand under the mattress edge near my hip. Something small and metallic grazed the sheet. A key sound, soft, familiar. He let the mattress fall back into place with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. When the hallway swallowed his footsteps, I pressed the call button and asked the night nurse for ice chips I didn't need. While she was gone, I slid my hand under the mattress and felt along the stitching. My fingers met metal. A key attached to a plain black tag. I closed my hand around it and let my pulse hammer against my palm, counting with someone else's patience. 1, 2, 3. I put the key back and closed my eyes, letting my mouth slacken into the loose, mouth-breathing sleep that made people talk around you like your furniture. Somewhere, a cart rattled, then stilled. The maple outside swung its dark leaves against the glass. I let the metronome of the monitor carry me to the edge where resolve lives. In the morning, I would nod and smile and forget on command. I would be the soft thing he wanted me to be. Tonight, when the ward went quiet and the lilies exhaled their sweet rot and the TV washed blue across the ceiling, I decided what I would do when I got home. I would find where the lock waited for this key. By the time they discharged me, Garrett had already curated the narrative. He was the devoted husband bringing his fragile wife home, the man who'd nearly lost everything, but still smiled for the nurses. When the orderly wheeled me out, I caught our reflection in the automatic glass doors, him standing behind me, hands on the wheelchair handles, jaw set in hero's resolve. The look of a man who'd just saved someone. The truth was, he was already calculating what saving me would be worth. The house smelled the same, but sharper, like lemon cleaner fighting something beneath it. He'd moved my favorite armchair closer to the window, set a vase of lilies on the side table, always lilies, and adjusted the blinds to a perfect angle. I thanked him softly, my voice still small, and let him think he was in control. "You'll rest here," he said, arranging the blanket across my knees. "Doctor says routine helps." I nodded, memorizing the way he placed his keys in the dish by the door. The one I had from the hospital was identical. He hadn't even bothered to hide the pattern of his own life. That night, when the house stilled and the hum of the refrigerator became the only heartbeat, I moved. My legs trembled from disuse, but adrenaline made them mine again. I found the key dish, swapped his with mine in a quiet sleight of hand, and made my way down the hallway to his office. The door clicked open with a gentle sigh, one part relief, one part dread. Inside, the desk lamp cast a yellow cone of light over a world I didn't know existed. Files, receipts, manila envelopes. I knelt and found the bottom drawer locked. My key slid in with the ease of inevitability. The folder with my name sat right on top, as if waiting for me. Divorce papers, already dated 2 days before the accident. Garrett listed me as mentally unstable and unfit for parental custody. My breath caught. Behind it were medical notes, fabricated psychiatric evaluations, false signatures, all building a paper ghost of a woman unraveling. Then came the insurance policies. 2 of them, one for $2 million, another for $1 million, under spousal coverage, 6 months old. At the bottom lay the text messages. Patricia's name glowed like a wound. Once the amnesia story runs its course, we move to phase 2. What if she remembers? She won't be around long enough for that to matter. I photographed everything with trembling hands, every flash of the phone camera a silent scream. When I closed the folder, a paper slipped free. Bank statements. He'd been siphoning money for over a year into accounts labeled consulting fees. I kept digging. Behind the files sat a plain envelope marked house. Inside were deeds, loan agreements, and forged documents transferring ownership to Garrett alone. My own signature stared back at me, graceful and obedient. I remembered signing something after my wisdom teeth surgery, groggy, trusting. Now it was a trap, sealed with my name. A floorboard creaked. I froze, listening. Only the air conditioner sighing. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I reassembled everything and slipped back to bed, clutching the phone like a weapon under the pillow. For the first time since the crash, sleep refused to come. I kept hearing Patricia's voice. "You were just confused, sweetie." And Garrett's low hum of fake concern. The pieces began forming a shape I didn't want to see. The accident hadn't been fate. It was logistics. In the morning, I made coffee and waited until Garrett left for a meeting with the insurance adjuster. I called Mom, layering my voice with uncertainty. "Garrett says I signed papers about the house before the accident, but I don't remember." "Honey, you called me about that," she said immediately, worry tightening her tone. "You were so upset. You said he had you sign things after your dental surgery. You thought something was wrong." My throat closed. "Do you remember what kind of papers?" "Something about refinancing, maybe adding both your names to something you already owned. You said you felt drugged, said you couldn't keep your eyes open." I bit my lip until I tasted iron. And I signed anyway. You didn't know what you were signing. You told me he brought the documents to your bed. After the call, I went to the bathroom and threw up the coffee. The mirror showed a stranger with my face. He'd been drugging me, softening the edges of my will long before the accident. The doorbell rang. Coral. She came bearing muffins and the smell of sanity. You look stronger, she said, hugging me carefully. Her warmth cracked something brittle inside me. Zoe's in the car. She's been dying to see you. I steadied myself. Bring her in. Zoe ran straight into my legs, her little hands gripping the fabric of my robe. Mommy, do you remember our secret song? She asked, hope bright as a match. I swallowed hard. Not yet, baby. Her eyes glistened, but she nodded bravely. It's okay. I can sing it for both of us. Coral's smile faltered as Zoe climbed onto my lap. She noticed the tremor in my hands, maybe the fear behind my eyes. Garrett arrived halfway through the visit, smiling too wide. My girls, he said, kneeling beside us. Zoe shrank slightly, pressing into me. Daddy, can we go home soon? Garrett's jaw tightened, just for a heartbeat. We'll leave when Mommy gets tired, sweetheart. Zoe's voice dropped to a whisper only I could hear. Not him. I want Grandma's house. When they left, I stood by the window, heart still racing. Something in Zoe's fear was older than words. Children recognize monsters by scent, not logic. Later, Garrett sat beside me on the couch, pretending casual conversation. Zoe's therapist says she's acting out. Kids make up stories to cope. Therapist? I asked quietly. Since when? He hesitated. Dr. Brennan. I thought it would help her process the trauma. I smiled thinly. You're thoughtful. Inside, my mind was ablade. That night, when Garrett fell asleep, I called Zoe's daycare pretending to check her progress. The director's tone was cautious relief. We've been so worried. Zoe's been telling us troubling things about her daddy. My knuckles whitened around the phone. What kind of things? She says he gets angry when you're asleep, that he talks about making you go away forever. She even drew a picture. 3 people, Mommy, Daddy, and Zoe, but Mommy was underground, and Daddy was smiling. The room tilted. Anything else? She told us about the medicine he gives you, said it makes you sleepy, and that Aunt Patricia said you'll be with the angels soon, like her goldfish. I hung up shaking. The air felt heavier, thinner. He wasn't just preparing to kill me. He was rehearsing it with our daughter, teaching her the script of my death. When Garrett stirred beside me later that night, I pretended to sleep. He reached over, fingers brushing my wrist as if checking my pulse, then turned away, phone screen lighting his face. I caught a glimpse of Patricia's name again before the glow disappeared. He whispered something and laughed softly, the kind of laugh that belongs to a man already sure of the ending. I lay there, heart hammering so loudly I feared he'd hear it. In the dark, I thought of Zoe's small hands, of the drawing folded somewhere in her backpack, of the maple tree shadow at the hospital window, and of the key still hidden in my nightstand. Tomorrow I would call Meredith, the one person I trusted completely, the one who could see through the kind of lie Garrett lived inside. Meredith picked up on the second ring. Her voice was crisp, tired, still carrying that detective's precision that made everyone else confess things they hadn't meant to say. Cass, I saw the accident on Facebook. Jesus, are you all right? Physically, yes. Mentally, no. I kept my voice steady. I need your help, and you can't tell anyone, not even your department, especially not yet. There was a pause on the other end, a sound that could have been a pencil snapping. Tell me everything. I told her everything about the hospital whispers, the fake concern, the files, the insurance policies, the texts. Every word came out clipped, measured, as if I were testifying under oath. When I finished, she didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Cass, she said finally, I think your accident wasn't an accident at all. Let me dig. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at Garrett's laptop. He had left it charging, unlocked, probably too confident in my supposed confusion. I searched through his folders like a thief in my own life. Spreadsheets, client statements, one marked Voss Logistics. My pulse stuttered. Patricia's husband's company. Attached to the file was a scanned invoice labeled Equipment Settlement. $50,000 transferred 2 days after my crash. The memo line simply read, "Counseling fee, D. Reeves." By midnight, I had screenshots of everything. When Garrett's footsteps sounded in the hall, I snapped the laptop shut and poured myself a glass of water, feigning disorientation. He frowned. "You should be resting." "I couldn't sleep," I sipped. "I keep seeing headlights." He softened instantly, the actor back on stage. "Trauma does that." I smiled faintly. "You would know." The next morning, Meredith called back. "The truck driver's name is Danny Reeves. He's got a record. Vehicular assault. Insurance fraud. Guess who paid him through a shell account? Garrett's consulting firm." My stomach clenched. "So the brake failure wasn't mechanical," she finished. "It was sabotage." Her voice lowered. "Cass, listen carefully. Keep pretending. Don't confront him. I'm driving down there tonight with a team. We'll get him on conspiracy and attempted murder, but we need him to act like he's winning." I hung up, heart beating like it wanted out. Every minute around Garrett now felt radioactive. He'd begun hovering more, bringing water and medication with forced tenderness. "The doctor says we should increase your dosage a little," he murmured one evening, dropping 3 pills into my palm instead of 2. I let them dissolve beneath my tongue, then spat them into a tissue when he turned away. The trash can under the sink became my graveyard of pills. Without the fog of sedation, my thoughts sharpened, and with them came terror. Garrett was getting reckless. He brought me legal documents daily, calling them insurance authorizations. His voice was syrup over poison. "Just sign here, sweetheart. The adjuster needs this to release the hospital funds." The pen shook in my hand. "What is it for again?" "Therapy appointments." I signed, but my eyes flicked over the fine print. Power of attorney in the event of incapacitation. My name beside his in black ink. I smiled like a compliant patient and later photographed every page. That night, Zoe wandered into the living room, clutching her stuffed elephant. Garrett was on the phone in the kitchen. I motioned for silence and listened. "She's almost ready," he said quietly. "Dr. Chen's buying it. We'll move forward soon." Patricia's voice buzzed faintly from the speaker. "The hospital lawyer says we can double dip if we claim malpractice." "Exactly. I'll call the doc tomorrow." Zoe tugged at my sleeve. "Mommy, are you scared?" My throat burned. "No, baby. Mommy's just tired." She climbed into my lap. "Don't take Daddy's medicine anymore." The words punched through me. "Why?" "Because it makes you sleep too much. I saw him pour extra when he thought I wasn't looking." I hugged her, trying to hide the tremor in my hands. "You're very brave for telling me." Her voice was a whisper. "I don't want you to go with the angels." After she fell asleep, I texted Meredith. "He's accelerating. Meeting Dr. Chen tomorrow. Help me record." Dr. Chen arrived that afternoon, neat in his white coat, briefcase gleaming. Garrett hovered like a shadow. "She's been having new episodes," he told the doctor, producing his phone. I recorded one. The video showed me sleeping, body twitching slightly, sound dubbed in, a woman's labored breathing, a gasp. It looked real enough to ruin me. Dr. Chen frowned, brow knitting. "Seizure activity. We may need stronger medication." "I don't remember any seizures," I said softly. "That's common," he replied, scribbling notes. "We'll adjust your prescription." Garrett's hand landed on my shoulder. "You're in good hands, sweetheart." When they left the room, I slipped into the hallway, hand pressed to my chest. I could feel my pulse. Fast, alive, stubborn. Back in the kitchen, I opened Garrett's laptop again and started a voice memo on my phone. "If you're hearing this," I whispered, "something's happened to me. His name is Garrett Vale, my husband. Check Voss Logistics. Danny Reeves, Patricia Voss. They staged the crash." I saved the recording under an innocuous file name, Zoe's Piano Practice. At dinner, Garrett was almost cheerful. "Dr. Chen will be back for a house visit soon. Just precautionary." I forced a small smile. "I trust you." His eyes softened in that way that used to mean love. "You always have." "I was thinking," I said carefully, "about getting the lilies replaced. Something fresher." He looked up sharply. "What's wrong with lilies?" "Nothing," I said. They just die too quickly. After he went to bed, I crept into the bathroom and flushed the sedatives I'd hidden under the sink. My reflection in the mirror looked more alive than it had in weeks. The woman staring back wasn't helpless anymore. Around midnight, Meredith texted, "Truck company confirmed. Payment trail solid. We're en route. Stay calm. Keep acting." I glanced toward Zoe's room. Her nightlight cast a soft blue halo across her sleeping face. I wanted to scoop her up and drive until the map ran out. But Meredith was right. If we ran now, Garrett would twist the story. I needed him caught red-handed. I walked back to the couch and sat in the same spot where I'd almost died once before. The clock on the wall ticked the same rhythm as the one on my dashboard that day. 3:47. The time he chose. The time he'd nearly erased me. Tomorrow night, I told myself. Tomorrow I end this. Morning came heavy and thick, the kind that feels like it's waiting for something to happen. Garrett was already up, humming off key as he made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table in my robe, pretending to read the paper. He poured me a cup before I could move. "Dr. Chen's coming by this afternoon," he said, his tone bright and casual. "He wants to check your vitals, maybe adjust your meds again." "Again?" I asked, my voice trembling just enough to sound fragile. He smiled, soft and practiced. "We want you to get better, don't we?" Zoe shuffled in, rubbing her eyes, her stuffed elephant dragging on the floor. "Daddy, can I have pancakes?" she asked. He crouched beside her, pinching her cheek. "Not today, sweetheart. We'll get them tomorrow." His hand lingered on her face longer than she liked. She pulled back, subtle but certain. The moment her back turned, his smile collapsed. When Dr. Chen arrived, the late afternoon light slanted through the blinds, striping the living room in gold and shadow. I sat on the couch while Garrett hovered at my side like a handler. The doctor unpacked his bag. "So, Cassandra," he said, his voice careful. "Any headaches? Dizziness?" "Some," I murmured, "mostly when I take the medication." Garrett interjected. "She's had a few episodes. I recorded another one." He handed over his phone. I watched as Dr. Chen frowned at the fabricated video. The jerky camera, my limp body, the faint soundtrack of suffering. "Very concerning," he said. "I'll need to add a stronger anticonvulsant to your regimen." He scribbled in his notebook, the scratch of pen like nails on my nerves. Garrett fetched a glass of water while I stared at the pill bottle, my heart hammering. When he handed me 3 tablets, white, round, and unfamiliar, I let them touch my lips before palming them, slipping them discreetly under my tongue. He waited, eyes fixed on me, until I pretended to swallow. "Good girl," he whispered. "You'll feel better soon." Dr. Chen packed up his things, none the wiser. "Keep me updated," he said, glancing at Garrett, not me. "If her symptoms worsen, call me immediately." He left, and the door clicked shut like a verdict. Garrett's mood shifted the instant the car pulled away. The sweetness drained out of him. "Lie down," he said softly. "You should rest." "I'm fine," I replied. "Lie down." His voice hardened. I obeyed. He brought a blanket and tucked it around me, a ritual he seemed to enjoy. Then he crouched beside the couch, hand brushing my hair from my forehead. "You trust me, don't you?" "With my life," I whispered. He smiled, satisfied. "Good." The pills began to melt bitterly against my tongue. I excused myself to the bathroom, pretending nausea. Once inside, I spat them into a tissue. The center one, larger, chalk white, had a faint imprint. DGN. Digoxin. A heart medication. I Googled it on my phone, and the words cardiac arrest glared back like a curse. My knees nearly gave out. He was done waiting. I texted Meredith. "He gave me digoxin. It's happening tonight." Her reply came fast. "We're outside. Hold him off if you can. Keep him talking. We need the act." When I came back out, Garrett was standing by the window, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes," he said quietly. "She took all 3. I'll call you in an hour. No, she won't feel a thing." He hung up and turned to me with that movie star concern. "You look pale. Sit down." "I'm fine," I murmured, letting a tremor enter my voice. "Just dizzy." That's normal. Medication takes time to work. He guided me back to the couch, his hand firm on my arm. Too firm. Close your eyes, sweetheart. Zoe peeked from the hallway, eyes wide. Mommy, are you tired again? I smiled weakly. A little. She crawled into my lap and hugged me tight. Her whisper trembled against my ear. Don't sleep too long, okay? Tears stung the corners of my eyes. I won't, I whispered back. Garrett's phone buzzed. Patricia's name lit up. He answered in a low voice. She's almost out, her breathing slowing. I let my body slacken, my breaths shallow and irregular. I could feel his gaze studying me, weighing every exhale. That's it, he said quietly. Just rest. 20 minutes later, Patricia arrived, perfume first, guilt last. Is she out? She whispered. Completely, Garrett said, crouching beside me to take my pulse. Weak already. Shouldn't be long. Are you sure the pills won't show up? Dr. Chen will sign the report himself. Brain trauma complications. He thinks she's been seizing for days. Patricia's eyes glittered. 4 million, Garrett. Can you imagine? We'll finally be free. He smiled faintly. Free, he repeated, like a man savoring the taste. I lay still, forcing my heartbeat slow, breath shallow. They stood over me, talking about settlements and lawsuits, about trips they'd take and houses they'd buy. Every word burned itself into my mind. Then, from outside, came the sharp bark of a command. Police, open the door. Garrett's head snapped toward the sound. Patricia froze, face draining of color. What the hell? Garrett hissed. The front door exploded inward. Uniformed officers flooded the room, Meredith at their center, badge out, gun steady. Nobody move. Garrett stumbled backward. This is a mistake. Not a chance, Meredith said. Step away from her. I opened my eyes slowly, sitting up on the couch. My voice came out calm, almost gentle. Hi, honey. Surprise. Garrett's face twisted through disbelief, rage, then pure venom. You lying bitch. Actually, I said, standing carefully, you're the liar. I just gave you the stage you wanted. Patricia tried to bolt for the kitchen, but 2 officers intercepted her, forcing her to the ground. Meredith moved to me, steady hand on my shoulder. We got everything, she murmured. The recordings, the fake reports, the payments. Reeves flipped. Garrett lunged, but the officers caught him mid-motion. As they cuffed him, he spat, You think this ends it? You'll never be safe. I met his eyes. I already am. Zoe appeared at the edge of the hall, clutching her elephant. Mommy? I knelt, gathering her into my arms. It's okay, baby. Mommy's okay. Is Daddy going to jail? She whispered. I swallowed hard. Yes, sweetheart. Good, she said simply, and buried her face in my shoulder. As they led Garrett past me, he turned one last time. You'll regret this. Meredith's voice cut in cold. You regret it first. Outside, red and blue lights splashed across the house that had been our prison. I stood under the porch light holding Zoe, watching Garrett's face disappear behind the car window. For the first time in months, the air felt breathable. The lilies inside the house had begun to wilt. Their petals had curled inward, closing like small fists. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of interviews, evidence bags, and signed statements. My house became a crime scene. Every drawer and folder I'd once been too afraid to open was now photographed and cataloged. Meredith stayed close, her badge tucked under a jacket, her voice low and reassuring. When she looked at me, I saw both pride and guilt, the kind you carry when you save someone just in time. Garrett and Patricia were charged within 48 hours. The list of offenses was longer than I expected. Attempted murder, conspiracy, insurance fraud, financial elder abuse. Every time the prosecutor added another charge, it was like seeing one more layer of rot stripped away. Danny Reeves turned himself in the next day. He wanted a deal. He admitted to sabotaging my brakes, said the money came from Garrett's business partner. I listened to his recorded confession in stunned silence. His voice shook. I was supposed to make it look like an accident, he said. I didn't think she'd live. When the trial began, the courthouse felt like a tomb for the life I used to have. I testified for 3 hours, my hands steady even when the defense tried to rattle me. Garrett wouldn't look at me, but Patricia did, her eyes glassy, her lips pressed in something between shame and fury. The prosecution had everything: the fabricated medical videos, the altered insurance papers, the text threads, the forged signatures, the drugs Dr. Chen prescribed under false pretenses. Chen himself took the stand, visibly shaken, admitting that he'd been misled by compelling evidence provided by Garrett. He wasn't charged, but his medical license was suspended indefinitely. When the verdict was read, the room went silent, guilty on all counts. Garrett got life without parole. Patricia got 20 years. Danny Reeves, 15 with parole and 8 for cooperation. The gavel came down like thunder, and something in my chest unclenched for the first time in months. Outside, reporters swarmed, microphones flashing like weapons. I said nothing. Zoe and Coral waited in the car. When I slid in beside them, Zoe reached for my hand. "Is Daddy gone?" "Yes," I whispered. "Forever?" "Forever." She nodded once. "Good." Then she leaned against my shoulder and fell asleep before we reached home. For the first time, home wasn't that house anymore. I sold it. The walls, the memories, the ghosts, and rented a small apartment above a bakery that smelled like vanilla every morning. The landlord fixed the plumbing himself, and the maple outside my window looked healthy, untwisted. Coral came by every few days with takeout and wine. We'd sit on the balcony, talking until the city lights blurred. "I still can't believe I didn't see it," she said one night. "He fooled everyone." "He fooled me most of all," I said quietly. "That's not true," she replied. "You survived him." 6 months later, I started a support group at the community center, a place for survivors of financial and emotional manipulation. It began with 5 people. Within weeks, there were 20. We shared our stories, our warning signs, our small victories. There was Diana, whose husband had drugged her coffee for months while making her sign routine business papers. Robert, whose grown children convinced him to transfer his house for tax reasons. Maria, whose sister opened credit cards in her name while she was in chemo. Janet, who lost her inheritance to a boyfriend's fake crypto scam. Each story echoed mine in some way. Different names, same shadows. I told them what Meredith once told me. When someone's sudden kindness comes with paperwork, pay attention. It was Meredith who suggested I write a book. "You're already doing half the work," she said. "Might as well tell the whole story." The book became Playing Dead: How Pretending to Be Vulnerable Saved My Life. My editor said the title was too dramatic, but I refused to change it. Because it wasn't drama, it was survival. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is let predators believe you're helpless. They show you who they are when they think you can't fight back. Zoe was 8 by the time it was published. She loved art more than anything now, filled her sketchbooks with color and light. Her latest painting hung on our fridge, swirls of gold and purple shaped like 2 figures under an open sky. "It's us," she said proudly when she showed it to me. "Just you and me, but we're enough." I looked at her, at the peace on her small, wise face, and believed her. One evening, after she fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and opened my laptop. An email from Meredith waited. Garrett's appeal denied. Case closed. I smiled. My cursor hovered over the message for a long time before I finally archived it. Outside, the city hummed softly. The maple's branches swayed against the window like they were waving goodbye. I used to think closure came like a verdict. Loud, final, absolute. But it doesn't. It's quieter. It comes when you stop asking why someone tried to destroy you and start asking how you'll build yourself again. I closed my laptop and walked into Zoe's room. She was asleep, her elephant tucked under her chin, the faint sound of her breathing steady and sure. I brushed her hair back and whispered, "We're okay now." Because we were. We were more than okay. We were free.